All right. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by BetUS TV. That one has given us a lot to talk about. One of the more interesting games of the season, a game that when you looked at, obviously, the Mavs injury report before this one tipped off, you would have said, this is either going to be a nothing burger of a game or it's going to be something of a game for all the wrong reasons. And somehow we got, I think, a game that is going to provide a lot of positive vibes for the Knicks and for several players in particular. And yes, it did come against a team that is very not good, although you could have fooled me in the first half. And like, there's no shortage of storylines. We could obviously, and we will, talk about the first time in Knicks history, franchise has been around for a few years now, almost 8 decades, that two Knicks got a triple-double in the same game. Congratulations to Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Hart for pulling off that double dip. It's kind of amazing when you consider, I mean, I think Fred Katz tweeted before, it's only happened 20 times in NBA history that two teammates got triple doubles in the same game. Knicks have had some down periods in their history, but they've also had a lot of periods in their history where they were really, really good. And they've had some big time triple double guys, obviously Clyde, Michael Ray Richardson, even some guys over the last 25 years. The fact that it's never happened until now, pretty cool that it happened tonight. So we're obviously going to talk about that. Passing in general. Was that the best Knicks passing game of the year? The numbers say no. They actually set the team record for assists earlier this season at Denver with 45 assists in one game, or tied the Knicks team record with 45 assists in the same game earlier this year. They also had another game earlier this year where they had 40 assists, and a game earlier this year where they had 39 assists. But still, this is only the 17th game in Knicks history where the Knicks had at least 40 assists in a game. And this is only the third time that has happened since 1991. All three of those times have happened this season. So, I know we've kind of gotten away from that theme about this Knicks offense being historic. You could argue that because Jalen Brunson did not play tonight, that this passing performance, even with the competition being what it was more impressive than any other this season. So we're going to talk about that. We are going to certainly talk about Tyler Kolek, who just continues to one-up himself. He obviously, I know the game the other night was not his NBA debut, but as far as I'm concerned, it was his, kind of his NBA rotation debut. I understand he's played non-garbage time minutes before the Wizards game. But that felt significant. It felt like a big moment for him. And obviously he's continuing to get the opportunity with Deuce McBride still out. Goes from having 8 assists versus no turnovers to 9 assists versus no turnovers. Got started off a little slowly. It was kind of the inverse of the Washington game in that respect, but certainly turned on things late. We are going to talk about Tyler Kolek a ton tonight because he's earned it. He's earned it 100%. We're going to talk about all those things. So, OG Anunoby. We're going to talk about OG Anunoby. How about OG? 35 points. At times a dominant looking 35 points, team high plus 24. Really had it going in all the right ways. Look, OG, I would say more than any other player, certainly on the offensive end, has fundamentally changed his game the most since Brunson has went out. Has it always been pretty? Absolutely not. Even there were some times in the first half where the Knicks were seemingly scoring on every possession, as were the Mavericks, where OG, either when he got stripped, I think one time on his way to the rim, he had maybe one or two misses close by. We've seen a lot of that stuff of late, but the fact that he is making the effort he is to become such a more aggressive offensive player and specifically a driver of the basketball, he is letting it rip from three. He has become the Knicks most willing 3-point shooter. I mean, only 6 attempts tonight, but that's about the low for him of late. He's got blood coming down from his nose, and he's still absolutely lighting up the Mavs. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about all those things. And yet I feel my biggest takeaway from this game is the defense that we saw in the second half. You guys know, because I've been doing this for enough years now, whatever's going on, if there is something in a game that is a bigger picture or potentially a bigger picture takeaway, that's going to be the thing that I go to the most. And for me, the fact that I could sit here with all of those crazy offensive numbers that I just cited, that I could sit here and say legitimately that the Knicks won this game with defense is astounding for a couple of reasons. The most obvious one being that they have not been a particularly good defensive team all year long. And you can probably count the amount of games that they have won with defense on one hand. But even more specifically, you could argue, I don't know if the first half was their worst defensive performance of the year. It was perhaps their softest defensive performance of the year. And you know what? It's funny because there was a tweet that went out earlier today, and I'm going to pull it up. The only reason I saw it is Benji Ridholtz retweeted it. And let me see if I can get it in the next couple of seconds here. Yes, here we go. By Owen Phillips. He has a great newsletter, the F5, about NBA and data. And he did a newsletter about the percentage of opponents' shots taken with 4 or fewer seconds on the shot clock. And Benji, to his credit, checked out the newsletter and retweeted that the Knicks allow the second fewest late clock shots in the NBA. And his rationale, I'm just literally reading off his tweet, is a lack of ball pressure, a lack of switching, and a lack of schematic versatility, and that this resulted in offenses knowing that they can get the shot that they want against the Knicks. And how often this season have we seen offenses? Yeah, sure, the Knicks are giving up a higher percentage of threes or a higher three-point percentage than I think just about any other team in the league, or they were at the top, and they're still right up there, I'm sure. And you want to talk to me about shooting luck, and that's part of it. That's fine. But there's a comfort factor built into that. And the fact that teams know when they go out against the Knicks, because of the style of defense the Knicks play, they are probably going to be able to get good looks. Now, having said all of that, the fact that the Knicks entered this game, and I'll double check it right now, I'm pretty sure that they were up to 13th in defense. Yes, 13th in defense coming into this game is a massive counterpoint to anybody who says the Knicks defense is fundamentally broken. You got to scrap it. They don't know what the hell they're doing. This is not a deep, like yada, 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 yada. Clearly, if you're 13th in the NBA defense, you are doing something right. And there are the scheme that they run that lends itself to a certain amount of consistency. Now, we could go back and forth about this, and you could tell me that, yeah, but against the best teams, it doesn't work. I'm here for all of those arguments. But I think the fundamental takeaway with the Knicks defense throughout the season and in the first half tonight is that it is too often where teams know, all right, we're going up against this scheme. It's going to be cat. It's going to be drop. It's probably going to be a soft drop. It's probably going to be a shallow drop. And if the Knicks are not getting into us from the opening tip, we know if we move the ball and we just dribble penetrate and make the next pass, if we don't have the shot right there, we're eventually going to get a good shot. And that was the story of the first half of the Mavs. They scored 68 points, and it is not like this is a elite Mavericks offense. They traded Luka Doncic. He wasn't on the team. Kyrie Irving's not there. He's injured. The Najee Marshall was out there. Now, granted, that was an exceptional offensive half, and I want to give Najee Marshall all the credit in the world for what he did. But even so, I mean, it was soft. And I don't want to put it all on Towns. It wasn't all on Towns. It's never all on Towns. There were some other notable lowlights as far as defensive performances. I mean, they eventually switched OG onto Marshall. That didn't even go all that much better. Precious had some not great defensive moments. I mean, it seemed like they all came against Marshall. But it wasn't just Marshall either. I mean, again, he had 20, I think 8 points in the first half. They had 68 as a team, so it obviously wasn't just him. And Josh Hart with some defensive lowlights. Shout out to Jason on the halftime Zoom. Let us all hear about that. So it was a team effort defensively. And I don't know if anybody heard Josh Hart being interviewed after the game. Alan Hahn, I think it was his first question, was to ask, was that a schematic change or was that a mentality change? And Josh Hart says it was a little bit of both. And yeah, absolutely, the Knicks came out of halftime like a team that was like, all right, we're going to defend like we mean it. This Mavs team, we're not going to let this thing go down to the wire. And sure enough, they didn't. But it was more to it than that. And the style of Knicks defense that we saw in the second half was fundamentally different from not only what we saw in the first half of this game, but from pretty much anything that we've seen this season. Again, referencing that Benji tweet, talking about schematic versatility, talk about a lack of switching, talking about a lack of ball pressure. We saw all of that stuff in the correct direction, in the direction we want to see it in the second half. And sure enough, the main centerpiece of the difference was Karl-Anthony Towns. The amount of aggression at the level of the screen that Karl-Anthony Towns displayed in the second half, the number of times that they freely allowed him to switch, it's almost as if Tom Thibodeau said, I've had enough of this. Let's go. We have to try something different, which, again, to fans' credit, there were many fans that have been screaming from the rooftops to do more of this throughout the entire season. And again, I would politely refer those fans to the Knicks' 13th ranked defense coming into this game. So it has not been all terrible, but it is hard to watch how much better they got in the second half and say that this is not the way. This is not the path to go. Really getting into these guys, allowing your best defenders, your OG Anunobys and your Mikal Bridges of the world, and even your Josh Harts of the world, to be more impactful off the ball, which is arguably how all those guys are at their best. Certainly Mikal Bridges, and I would argue that OG Anunoby too, and have them make impact plays. Now, was this the 2016 Warriors offense? No, it was not. So the fact that, the Mavs scored 68 points in the first half, and then I had him at 28 points when the Knicks started putting in, when Tibbs emptied the bench and it was garbage time with just under 4 minutes to go. So basically through the first 20 plus minutes of the second half, the Mavericks, after scoring 68 points in the first half, scored 28 points with the Knicks up by 23 at that time. Not a great NBA offense by any stretch. And again, to all of the criticisms about the typical standard defense the Knicks play not being good enough against good teams. Well, guess what? If you're more aggressive against really good teams, they're going to figure out a way to exploit that too. Like, at the end of the day, if you are dealing with limited defensive personnel, a good team is eventually going to figure it out, or a good offensive team is eventually going to figure it out. That's the league that we play in right now. Well, me, not so much because I don't play basketball. But the Knicks playing right now, where even your best defensive teams could be made to look like, look silly on some nights. And the Knicks are not one of the best defensive teams in the league. I think what tonight, the takeaway is for me, though, again, big picture wise, is that it really does have to be a mix of everything. It has to be a mix of everything. And I'm not even, maybe not even half to half, but like quarter to quarter, lineup to lineup, like they have to give teams different looks. You have to. Because again, you're dealing with limited personnel and the offenses in the league are too good. And, again, we're not putting the Knicks in the second round just yet. But if they get there, and then in our wildest dreams, if they get past that and get to the conference finals, along that path, you are going to be facing not one, but two of the greatest offenses in NBA history, or so say the numbers. So that's my biggest takeaway from this game, big picture wise. Not that all the offensive stuff isn't important. I do think it's important, but like, did Cat or Josh Hart or even OG Anunoby or frankly Tyler Kolek do anything tonight that was out of the ordinary or unexpected, or that we thought that they could not do or that they were not capable of doing? I don't think so. I guess I'll end the monologue here. and Benji and me talked about it on the most recent KFS pod. I talked to DJ a little bit about it on the most recent Patreon pod. There was enough, the 3-game stretch with San Antonio, followed by Charlotte, followed by the near second half collapse against the Wizards, was so unsettling that I know personally, I was just kind of shook. I really start to ask myself some questions about like, what is this team exactly? What are we here? And then it comes back to, well, it's like Jalen Brunson isn't in the building, so or he was in the building tonight, but not on the court. So how much should we really take from any of this? And you go back and forth and back and forth. The Knicks are, the Knicks have a winning record without Jalen Brunson this season. They actually now, without Jalen Brunson this season, are 6-4. Because they had that win against the Jazz on New Year's Day. In this most recent stretch, that they are 5-4. Now, you look at those 5 wins. Have those 5 wins come against the highest quality of opponents? No, although the Heat sure look like a quality opponent tonight against Golden State. Guess they had a little something in store for Jimmy Butler. But it doesn't matter. Especially when, and I kind of touched on this in my newsletter on Monday. Shout out to all my Substack people out there. Like, it's a long season, and we're at the point in the season where good teams that you think are known quantities, teams that you think like, all right, this is a safe bet that they're going to go in and do this to this team on this given night. Like, nothing is a safe bet. Maybe OKC, and I guess Boston too recently. But like everybody else across the league, you look up and down, you look at the top of the West standings after OKC, you look at teams missing players, like upending teams. Like, it's a long season. And I think if you're a team that knows you're going to be in the dance and you're going to, have a chance to have a potentially long playoff run, maybe we shouldn't look too deeply into this stuff. So, and that goes for the good and the bad. The fact that the Knicks were world beaters tonight, like you look at it, you're like, all right, it was, like, take it with a grain of salt. You take it all with a grain of salt. But I think coming off of those last 3 games, the fact that the Knicks came out tonight and had an utterly dominant, there's no two ways about it, an utterly dominant offensive performance without Jalen Brunson, and doing it in the way that we've wanted them to do it all year with the passing and the movement, and it looked beautiful. It was as beautiful a game offensively and the first half, really, because then the third quarter they actually started to drag a little bit, and yet they still found a way to score 30 points in the third quarter. Go figure. And then defensively in the second half. So in that sense, this game really did kind of have it all. So I'm encouraged. The next, it's a little bit tougher sledding from here. Tomorrow night against the Clippers is not going to be easy because this game was as tight as it was for as long as it was. The guys maybe played a couple. Well, really, it's OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby, he had to play 38 minutes, but nobody else over 34. So that's encouraging. Cat 34, Bridges 34, Hart 33. You hope those guys, considering both games are at home, they'll be all right or have good energy. Certainly because they didn't expend any energy on defense in the first half of this game. So, hopefully they'll be good to go for tomorrow. And we should also say, I should have said this at the top, the other reason why I'm not just like saying, oh, it's the Mavs suck and they're missing everybody. Yeah, the Mavs are missing a ton more players than the Knicks are missing, but the Knicks have a very clearly defined top 7 of their rotation. And they were missing 3 of those 7 players, including their best player tonight. So it's not like the Knicks were at full health either. So hopefully, obviously, they're not going to get Jalen Brunson back tomorrow, and I certainly don't expect Deuce McBride to play. But I think there's a good chance that Mitch plays, because I think the only reason he sat tonight was because the first of a back-to-back. So I think that'll help, although Precious did a couple nice things tonight. Did some not nice things also, but some nice things. So that'll help certainly tomorrow against the Clippers. And we'll see. They may get no Harden either, so that's relevant as well. But we're getting off track. Excited to get to the super chats tonight. Excited to hear what people want to say. Again, I have a feeling I know where a lot of the super chats are going to be going, which is totally fine. He's earned the praise. But yeah, anything you guys want to talk about? But before we get there, I've been staring at this bottle for the last 20 minutes because I can't wait to open it because I had an early dinner. And as you guys know, these things take a lot out of me. So I'm excited to get a little extra fuel in my system, or in this case, some Yule in my system. So what is Yule? Well, I'm about to crack it open and show you what it is. This, for anybody who doesn't know, is the Black Edition ready-to-drink meal in a bottle. So that's basically all you need to know about Yule, other than that it comes in 4 fantastic flavors: strawberry, banana, chocolate, vanilla, and iced coffee. There's a lot of great things about Yule. I'll just talk about like what's great about it. For instance, right now, I don't usually eat or drink too much, other than certain types of drinks, on these podcasts. But I am famished by the end of the live streams. And I'm usually, whether it's pouring myself a bowl of cereal or making myself a little sandwich, because I really do need a 4th meal of the day. Well, how much easier is it to grab a Yule, like I just did, out of my little mini fridge down here, pop open the cap, voila. When I tell you it tastes like a milkshake, I'm not lying. It is absolutely delicious. It's high in protein. It contains vitamin C. It is ridiculously convenient. It's literally, again, you pop it in the fridge, let it chill, and it's right there for you. And it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. And that's really the best part, because a lot of these like different diets and things, they will end up costing you a pretty penny. And this is, again, it's an entire meal in a bottle, and it will not break the bank for you. So if you would like to enjoy some Yule yourself, take advantage. New customers can visit Yule.com. That's HUEL.com/KFS today, and use my code KFS to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. Tell you one more time, new customers visit Yule, HUEL.com/KFS today. And again, use that code KFS to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. You'll be very happy you do, and I hope nobody minds that I'm going to enjoy my Yule strawberry banana, which is it's either that or the chocolate. That's my favorite shake throughout the rest of this postgame. There we go. I can feel it powering me up. Hopefully for a lot of positive super chats, but we'll see. You never know. You never know. All right. First up, shout out to Mark, by the way. He's on the 1s and 2s tonight. Kevin Danishevsky. What's going on, Kevin? How are you? I hope you're well. It was good seeing you at halftime, as always. That 5-out lineup was like a breath of fresh air. When there is space with Cat as a passer and OG McCall as cutters, oh man, OG Cat with stupid games tonight. Little Josh Hart shade right there. Look, yes, the 5-out offense is wonderful. When you could get 5 out, it's really nice. It certainly opens up a lot of things for you. Every team would love, I think, ideally to play 5 out, or at least have the personnel where 5 out is a possibility. It doesn't mean you always need to go like 5 out, so to speak. Like in a perfect world, you have a center who can both shoot and roll to the basket and be a threat in that way. And Karl-Anthony Towns certainly showed the full arsenal tonight. Like Josh Hart could do some stuff too, and the thing I didn't mention, I mentioned that obviously this was the first time in Knicks history 2 Knicks had a triple-double in the same game. This is also his 9th triple-double of the year, and it broke Clyde Frazier's record. Finished with 16 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. I get that like the triple-double itself has kind of gotten maybe not a bad name, but ever since like Russ started racking them up, and you'd watch the games in which Russ would have a triple-double, and you'd be like, was that actually a good game? I'm not really so sure. And there were times tonight the way the Mavs were guarding Josh Hart. You looked at it and be like, is this helpful? And sometimes it's not. But like, and I get it. The defense has not always been there, and it was not there in the first half tonight. It's been I would say, a rough defensive season for Josh Hart. He does enough. He does enough to make it a legitimate tough decision, and it's not just for Tibbs because, again, you heard Spo talk about this when Josh Hart was on the Olympic team. He does a lot of stuff that you want. So it might not be 5 out with him, but I thought for the stretches where he was in the game tonight offensively, I thought the Knicks looked pretty good in those stretches as well. I'll get some lineup data up in a bit, but yeah, let's give a shout out to Josh Hart too. Okay, thanks, Kev. Darth Dream, what's up, Darth Dream? How you doing? OG looking like Austin, I believe that's Steve Austin, at WrestleMania 13. Hart times Cat, Hart and Cat cooked. Oh yes, the bloody face. Yeah, that wrestle. I was away from wrestling by the time Stone Cold came around. My wrestling days ended with when I watched wrestling. Who it was? Let's see. Hulk Hogan, certainly. Ric Flair had come over to the WWF back in those days. Bret the Hitman Hart, remember him? The Undertaker, of course. Kane, was that a guy? I think it was Kane. Not remembering too many other names, but yeah. So Stone Cold was a little after my time. Anyway, yes, they did cook. All good things philosophically speaking. Why is Tibbs such a drop coverage merchant? Well, again, to go back to the opening of the show, and I know you sent this super chat well before I went on my little diatribe about the defense. I think he's a drop defense merchant or a drop coverage merchant because, in theory and usually in actuality, it is the defense in which you are going to. It's the highest floor defense, which is to say, it is you are in theory, and again, in theory has not always been an actuality for the Knicks this year. You are keeping your perimeter defenders on the perimeter, and you are leaving it to your interior defenders, the point of attack defender, and then obviously the big to handle the pick and roll. And there is a certain safety to that, and it's like it's the one with the least variables. That said, it looks awful sometimes. And that said, the Knicks defensive rating this year, playing a vastly, predominantly scheme with drop coverage, is still in the top half of the league. With two subpar defenders playing a lion's share of the minutes. So that's why I think, to be fair, you at least have to acknowledge that it's not like they've gone out there with this style of defense and they're, in the bottom 10 of the league or whatever. They're in the top half of the league. And they're in a group of teams. If you look at the defensive rating rankings released earlier today, there's a group of teams basically from like 9 to 16 that are all kind of clumped together in terms of like within 2 or 2.5 points per 100 possessions of each other defensively, which is like you're okay. You don't have a great defense. You probably don't have a very good defense, but you have an okay defense, So, and again, going up, back to the theory of the case. We always like to talk about the theory of the case, right? If you have an elite offense, which I know the Knicks have not been for really a few months now, sure look like it tonight. If you have an elite offense and you have a pretty good defense, that's good enough. But again, it's eyes on the prize. It's how do you climb the mountaintop? Are they going to play some drop defense on the way to a potential championship this year and whatever year? Absolutely, because every team plays drop. But to your main point, I think, Darth, it can't just be drop. You got to mix it up. You have to. And I think, who Acknowledge that you have to mix it up. Tom Thibodeau tonight. Thanks, man. Jibo. Love you, Mac, but this is why you play Kolek. Again, I knew this was going to be tonight. Look, Kolek had a really nice second half in this game. He's the best passer on the team. He's probably the best passer the team has had in years. The offense, he looked really good in the second half. The offense, I thought, flowed really nicely when he was in the second half. But they also scored 68 points and had 22 first half assists, I believe, on 29 made field goals in the first half, or 21 assists on 29 made field goals in the first half, and looked like the most unstoppable offensive unit in the league without their best player. And Tyler Kolek didn't really do much, So my pushback, and I've said this now multiple times, but I'll say it again because I know people take from what I say what they want to take from what I say. My pushback against Kolek was never about Kolek. My pushback for the whole obsession over the Kolek thing is that there are far more important issues and things about this basketball team that concern me way more than whether or not Tyler Kolek's getting minutes. And two of those things, number one, that the defense could play like the sort of defense we saw in the second half. We saw it tonight. And the other of which is this offense could look like they don't have their heads collectively up their asses without Jalen Brunson on the floor. And we saw that tonight too. And it was their guys who, again, no offense to Tyler, but the guys who are actually going to be playing playoff minutes, facilitating that offensive generation. And that is just a lot more important to me this year. Did I kind of maybe poo-poo the idea of that these are valuable minutes for Kolek and his long-term progression and the whole thing? Yeah, maybe. But I'm so laser focused on this season. And the other part of it, and again, I mentioned this with Benji the other night, I've already, in my mind, Tyler Kolek's the backup point guard next year. I don't need to see anything. I know what the kid is. We all know what the kid is. Give him an extra summer to work. Give him an extra summer of prep, the summer league, the whole thing. You think he looks good now? Look at what he's going to look like next year. Imagine. So that's all. He's a really good player. I'm happy. I'm happy he's getting time. He looks good. He helped the Knicks win the game tonight. He helped the Knicks win the game the other night. It's all good stuff. Thanks, Jibo. Robert Cross. Oh, I know where this one's going. First time, long time. It's your boy John. Is it fair and reasonable to say that Kolek's 17 assists and 0 turnovers over the last 35 minutes played are reflective of Hall of Fame potential? If so, is there some merit to moving Jalen Brunson? Thanks. I'll hang up and listen. Robert's obviously being facetious here. I think if with the 34th pick in the draft, you can get an NBA rotation player, you have done very well for yourself. And I think that if you could get a rotation player, period, I think you've done very well for yourself. If you can get a rotation player that when he is on the floor in a high-level playoff series and you do not feel like you are losing too much, then you've how many players of that ilk are drafted every year in the second round? Even forget the whole second round, and in the 30s. 1, 2, maybe. Are we there yet with Kolek? No, we're not there. And again, don't listen to me. Listen to Benji, who just talked about it the other night. In terms of there are things that Tyler Kolek needs to do. It doesn't matter. He can be the best passer in the league. And if he can't consistently, make floaters, You heard DJ on the film session with Tyler Kolek, which was exceptional. Again, shout out to all of our patrons. You got to be able to finish off 2. And then the other thing, because if he doesn't do this, teams are just going to go under. And if teams are constantly going under on him, it's going to make it much, much, much harder for him to play make against the best defenses. He has to be able to hit the pull-up 3. And I think he took 1 pull-up 3 tonight from the top of the key, and it missed, which is fine. It's fine. I'm happy he took it. But there are some, like, he needs to be able to score. Because if teams don't respect your ability to score, again, you could be the best passer in the league or one of the best passers in the league, and it's just not going to matter. I'm not even talking about the defense, and actually the defense has been pretty good. I thought tonight, in particular, in the second half, I thought his defensive aggression and his defensive tenacity, I know he got bodied after he had his floater. I hope it was blocked, because otherwise that would be pretty ugly for him to miss to airball a floater from 6 feet. But he got bodied on that next possession where he was going for a rebound and he just had no chance. Other than that, I thought it was like he forced a travel on the sideline there with, I think it was Dinwiddie, someone he forced to take a double dribble. I forget who it was. There was that. There was a couple other moments where he's like, my shout out to my brother Chris was texting me tonight saying Kolek's always in the right place. He is defensively. He really is always in the right place. That has a lot of value. So I'm not even, again, highest level basketball. You're in a 7-game series, not this year, but even next year, whatever, against the Celtics. Like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, one of those guys on the floor, and Tyler Kolek's out there. He's going to put in pick and roll every time. Like every time. Now, so is Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson is one of the, 5 or so most or best offensive players in basketball. So you more live with that. I think that's why the goal has to be for Kolek to become, again, we're talking rotation player on a high level team in the playoffs. Can he be one of the 2 or 3 best offensive backup point guards in the league? I think that has to be the goal. I think it has to be, and then we'll go from there. But early returns are good. I know he turns 25, I think, in a couple of days. But again, like if you get 5 years out of the kid or 6 years out of the kid, you've done really well. You've done really well. Thanks, Robert. Bill Peterfriend. Nice, easy win. Kolek can really dish. Needed this one as the schedule turns tough. The defense in the first half was non-existent. Yeah, it was non-existent, and then they changed up some things, and they defended like a really good team. Happy you mentioned the schedule. Again, shout out to any of my Knicks Film School newsletter subscribers on Substack. I went through in deep detail in today's newsletter the remainder of the schedule, literally going game by game, talking about what each team has at stake, where they're likely to be in the standings, what they will be playing for by the time the Knicks play them. So if you're interested in a really deep dive on the remainder of the schedule, go ahead and check that out. Yes, the schedule does get tougher. I mean, we could just go through like the immediate next little bit of the schedule here. So obviously they face the Clippers tomorrow night. That's going to be a tough game. We'll see if James Harden plays. Milwaukee, shout out to Dame Lillard. We're all, but that's just bigger than basketball. Got diagnosed with like a blood situation, I'll call it. I think it's similar to what Wemby has. I think deep vein thrombosis. Is that it? But there was also a report, I believe, from The Athletic, Sam Amick, if I'm not mistaken, stating that he intends to come back this season. So that's good news for him. So that's the more important part. But in the immediate future, it means the Bucks are not going to have Dame Lillard for the game against the Knicks on Friday. That game is in Milwaukee. No Dame, no Brunson, probably even matchup. And then after that, you got a tough Portland team coming to MSG on Sunday. And then you get what should be what I don't know if it's going to be their last gimme win of the season, because that's the thing about the schedule that we don't know right now. They got 2 games left against Cleveland and 1 game against Boston, and we have no idea how much those teams are going to be going for it. I mean, this next game against Cleveland, Cleveland's probably going to play all their guys, although I don't know what's up with this Donovan Mitchell groin injury situation. But, are those later games against Cleveland and Boston, are those going to be easy games, or those going to be hard games? We don't know. Even the Detroit game on April 10th, like, if Detroit's locked into the 6, how much are they going to be going for it? Although now at this point, you figure they're going to have a chance to pass Bucks for 5. So maybe they're playing hard. And then you end the season against Brooklyn. Brooklyn, I'm sure, will treat that game, whoever actually plays in it, those guys will treat the game like it matters. But Brooklyn's also playing for lottery balls. So, and then you got an Atlanta game, you got a Phoenix game. So it's a tough schedule, but you got this win tonight. Like, I feel pretty good that at the very least they're going to find their way to 50 wins. And I think I predicted today that I thought they would finish with 51 effectively, because I predicted 7-5 down the stretch, so that would be 51. Win the games you're supposed to win, and maybe 1 or 2 that you on paper you're not. We'll see. Thanks, Bill. Huck Frazier. What if Kolek is the rim protection that Tibbs was searching for all along? That was a good block he had. Did he? I should actually look. Did he have more than one block? He may have had more than one block tonight, for all I know. No, just the one. But that was still pretty good. But mainstream creator media isn't ready to talk about the stocks creator. Look, I like the defense. I like everything Kolek's bringing to the table. He's a really nice little player. I'm excited to see him progress. Shout out to Kevin Danishevsky at halftime, talked about how, the first half was really a good reminder that this team misses Deuce when he's not in there defensively. The fact that they were able to perform defensively like they were in the second half, I thought was really encouraging. All that said, do I want Deuce back? Like, yeah, I want Deuce back. Of course I want Deuce back. The Knicks should want Deuce back. He's a really good player for this team. I think if they could continue to defend like they did in the second half, and Deuce is their best point of attack defender this year. He just has been. So against better teams, that's going to be harder. Like, having Payne in there, running the offense, and obviously getting Kolek these minutes. And then, of course, that leads to the big question. Okay, Deuce comes back. Does Kolek necessarily go back on the bench? Now, obviously, every Knick fan is going to scream at the top of their lungs, please, God, no. Like, why are you not sending Landry Shamet to the bench? Landry Shamet tonight, 1 of 4 from 3, was 4-7 overall. He's a plus 16 in 19 minutes. Do with that what you will. Shamet being as inconsistent as he has from long range, I think for me would open the door. I know, Benji talked on the pod about just go super small, get Precious out of there, and have it be Payne, Kolek, Shamet, whether it's OG or it's probably OG because you need the size, and then Mitch ideally, and then that's your backup group. Like, I'd love that. I'm sure every fan would love that. Are we going to get it? We'll see. Thanks, Huck. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? First win versus Dallas in the Jalen Brunson era. Is that a fact? You had the Luka Miracle game. They beat us earlier this year. You know what? I'm going to take your word for it. Yes, that's right, because Luka missed the other. I didn't even realize that. And it's funny because I talked about the Dallas matchups with McMahon on the pod and letting McMahon know something that he didn't realize, which is that since Brunson came to New York, Brunson and Doncic never faced each other with Luka in a Dallas uniform and Brunson in a Knicks uniform. and now they probably never will. But that's a good stat. We owed him one. I get people are going to focus on Kolek. He was great, but I'm hopeful this leads to more 5 out plus 85 net for that lineup 0 minutes prior. You know what the terrible thing is? I'm not even 100% sure which specific lineup that you're talking about, Kev. I'll look for it right now. Hang on, because I got my friends at Pivot Fade here who do a great job posting the lineup data immediately. So lineups for the Knicks tonight. So you got the starting lineup with OG Towns, Hart, Bridges, and Campaign. That lineup tonight with a 127.3 offensive rating, a 104.5 defensive rating. That's a plus 22.8 net. That's pretty good. I'm assuming the lineup that you're talking about, or maybe you're talking about multiple lineups. I'm not really sure. So the lineup with Towns, Anunoby, Bridges, Kolek, and Shamet. So no Payne and no Hart. That played 6 minutes, outscored the Mavs 19-8. So 158 offense, 73 defense. That was really good. And I'm looking down. Everything else was like garbage time stuff. So, yeah, I'm guessing that you basically mean any lineup where it's the 4 starters with Hart off the floor and a shooter on the floor. So no Precious either. But that's yeah, it's a good look. So yeah, what plus 8? Well, plus 85 net. That it had. Yeah. So again, plus 85 net. It's 6 minutes, Kev. It's 6 minutes. Just keeping things in perspective. But yeah, we should see more. We should see more lineups where it's 5 out. To your point. Thank you, Kevin. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? Najee Marshall is a nice player. He's a very nice player. I hope he escapes Dallas before the black cloud fully engulfs that franchise. We needed a win like this. Also, the McMahon pod was S tier stuff. Salute Mac. # fire Tibbs. I don't know what S tier is. I hope S tier is a good tier. I appreciate the compliment. McMahon makes life incredibly easy because you just tee it up and it's probably A tier because S is next to A. There you go. Thank you, Mark. I don't know how to look at a keyboard. Anyway, yeah, that was really fun to do. And I got where's the book? There we go. Free plug for Tim. Not that he needs it for me, but there's the Wonder Boy. I'm really excited to read this. I'm hopefully, I don't know. It's always tough for me to really dig into anything in season, and I may just wind up saving it for the off season. But yeah, it's from just flipping around and looking in it so far. I mean, I can't wait to dive in head first. And as far as Najee Marshall, he's a guy that I think ever since he kind of announced himself as a member of the Pelicans, is a player that you look at, and I know his defense wasn't very good tonight, but guy who could defend, shoot threes, a little creativity off the bounce. Like, who doesn't want that player? Chip on his shoulder, wasn't drafted, the whole thing. That's all good stuff. Yeah, he's the prototypical player that like every team wants. And sometimes it's about getting those guys before they really blow up. But yeah, he's a nice player. I wish him the best. Thanks, Juanon. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? Great seeing the Knicks anticipate the doubles on Cat and aggressively exploit it a lot more. Yeah, I mean, just the passing was the ball movement, the player movement, all of it. All of it was top tier stuff. Like, that was an offense operating at an elite level. And the one thing I haven't even mentioned, this is something else I meant to mention at the top of the show. The Knicks, they hit some threes late. They ended up hitting 38.5% of their threes. For the vast majority of this game, they were not really hitting their threes. In the first half, in fact, they scored 68 points in the first half, and they were 3 of 12 from deep. So if they go, 5 of 12 from deep in the first half, we're talking about a 74-point half without Jalen Brunson. So, like, really, really special offensive stuff tonight. Anyway, the rest of Anthony's comment. Curious how Kolek translates to better defense, meaning like against a better defense. Hashtag eat Krolek, hashtag team Coco. That's going to be a test. You know, the Wizards, this version of the Mavs, not exactly the Oklahoma City Thunder. But again, I'm not worried about him facing top tier defenses this season. Because I hope this isn't throwing cold water on anybody's hopes and dreams, but like Tyler Kolek, barring disaster, Tyler Kolek is not playing in the playoffs this year. So by the time he is going to have to face top tier defenses in games that really matter, he's going to have another summer under his belt. And if we're really projecting forward to next playoffs, he's going to have a whole lot more NBA games under his belt. So I trust in that time, and with more time working with Jalen Brunson and learning more of Jalen Brunson's tricks. I mean, you know, it was said at draft time, and it should be said again. He's kind of a mini Brunson in terms of how he is going to be able to score. And he's going to need all those tricks. Is he also going to need to hit pull-up threes? I wrote this, I think the night he was drafted, or the day after he was drafted, or something. Like, the thing for me with Kolek, he has to be able to hit pull-up threes. If he hits pull-up threes, he could be a really, really nice offensive player. If he can't hit pull-up threes, then it becomes a little bit more of a difficult go for him. And needless to say, catch and shoots are like, he has to hit catch and shoots. But the pull-up really for me that's the thing. Thanks, Anthony. Jason, what's going on, Jason? Good to see you earlier. Maybe we should complain about Josh Hart every halftime. The same thing happened against the Heat. He needs to consistently play hard on defense. I said it to you. The last thing I said at halftime, Jason, was what? I said, I think Josh Hart is a player who is, at this stage of his career, he's over 30 years old. He has, God knows, more high leverage miles on his tires than any player his age in the league. I think he's saving it a little bit. I think he's slow playing this season a little bit. I say that, and yet I see how he reacts when there is maybe a poor defensive play that he is responsible for. And boy, oh boy, it does remind me a lot of the Julius Randle experience, where it's like, no, man. You don't gotta look around. Just gotta look in the old mirror, and you'll find the culprit. He's right there. That's happened a lot this year, and it's annoying. And I don't know. Maybe that's his personal defense mechanism to something that he, what he knows he's doing. Either way, we know what Josh Hart looks like when he is playing like full all out. And I do not believe that like he's incapable of ratcheting up his defense once the playoffs start. That has never been a concern of mine. The concern of mine is that he is still, I think he hit 2 threes tonight. I'll double check. He hit both of he's now hit his last 5 threes. I think. And it may be more than that. I need to go back to the previous game. Hold on. Of course I have his game log. That's one of my most frequently visited pages. No, I'm sorry. He was 0 of 3 against Washington. I'm sorry. I ignored that. So he's going basically back and forth. So this is kind of funny. 4 of 6 against the Kings. This is just from 3. 4 of 6. Portland, 2 of 6. Warriors, 0 for 2. Miami, 2 of 5. Spurs, 0 for 3. Hornets, 3 for 3. Washington, 0 for 3. Now, tonight, Mavs, 2 for 2. So it's basically now every other game is a goose egg, and every other game in between those is a nice shooting performance. I will count this as some modicum of progress. I would be lying if I said that I thought come game one of the playoffs, we're going to get the version of Josh Hart that we saw at the beginning of the Sixers playoff series, which is concerning because it doesn't matter who they play. Any defense worth their salt is going to be locked in enough and prepared enough to exploit his hesitancy and make that difficult. And like, how do you game plan for that? How do you game plan for a player who ostensibly should be able to do a thing, which is just shoot it, whether he makes it or not? He should be able to shoot it. What do you, if you're the Knicks, you go into that series and be like, all right, Josh isn't feeling confident with his threes. So here's how we're going to come out in the first 5 minutes of game one. We're going to have to let's work our game plan around this deficiency. You're not going to do that. That's why I think the most interesting question is like, if this continues, if his hesitancy continues, and he was hesitant tonight, like, how many minutes is he going to play? That's the question. That's the question. So we'll see. We'll get it. I mean, one way or another, he's going to not be hesitant, or we're going to get our answer either way, come playoff time. Yeah, Mark, we could do it now. We're about an hour in. Okay, let's take another quick break to hear from another one of our friends at Mando. So what's the deal with Mando? Well, I'll tell you what the deal with Mando is. It is something that is made as a whole line of products, actually, that is made for guys like me who, have a natural thing called odor. Body odor gets a little bit of a bad name, but it is something that I think every man to a certain extent has to deal with from time to time. And the nice thing about Mando is they make all of these very cool, very high quality products that make it easier for you to stay fresh throughout your entire day and in any place that, maybe you get an odor or two emitting from. This stuff was created by a doctor, saw firsthand, body odor was not only being misdiagnosed, but mistreated. And he created all this stuff to block odor, not for 24 hours, not for 48 hours, but for up to 40 or up to 72 hours. So I got all the products right here because I'm probably going to need to use some of this stuff after this live stream is over. We got the whole body deodorant spray. So if you want something to spray, it's got you. You got your regular old deodorant. Gotcha. You have your body wash. You have your whole body deodorant cream for any of those hard to reach places. And then my favorite, the little package with the wipes. So any possible way that you want to deodorize yourself, Mando has thought of it. Again, it is 72-hour odor control. And this is what makes it America's #1 whole body deodorant. So if you want to check out Mando's starter pack, which is perfect for new customers, it comes with all of those things that I just showed you, and get free shipping, you can take advantage of this special offer for KFS listeners. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with the exclusive code, and that code, of course, is KFS. It equates to 40% off your starter pack. Just use code KFS at shopmando.com. Again, that is shopmando.com. Support KFS. Tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Again, use that code KFS at shopmando.com. Okay, giddy up. Jessica, what's going on, Jessica? How are you? It says so much about how the game went when the fourth quarter call is Breen almost unable to stop laughing due to Clyde joking about forgetting to take a pill. Man, I thought Breen and Clyde were particularly delightful tonight. They, it's 30 years now that they've been together doing these games. And I don't, it's interesting. I feel like I don't know if this is just me. It may just be me. I feel like we appreciate them and admire them and respect them and admonish them with praise as individuals more than as a team, as a broadcast team, because Breen, you know, uh, for me, it's obvious he's the best in the business at what he does. And Clyde is a living legend. He's a two-time Hall of Famer. He's the best, one, depending on your viewpoint, maybe the best player in Knicks history, maybe the second best. He's up there, and there's nobody else like him. But I personally don't think I appreciate enough the fact that we have had these two guys together for 3 decades, and how incredible that is, and how comforting it is to be able to watch a broadcast and just know you're in the absolute safest of hands. And not only that you're in safe hands, but they're trustworthy in every way that a broadcast duo can be. And I mean, they're hysterical when they want to be, when they need to be. Nobody's funnier than those two guys. And Breen plays off Clyde beautifully, and Clyde plays off Breen beautifully. And it's just, I really, like you said, I'm happy you pointed that out, Jessica, because it really, I think it's shown through tonight. And yeah, I don't know how much longer we're going to get the two of them together for, but and this is no shade against any of the other people that have stepped into Clyde's shoes and done a fantastic job. This year, the last few years, like the Knicks are going to find a great replacement for him when that day comes. I just, I hope that day doesn't come soon. Thanks, Jess. David Crockett. Oh, David. Look at you currying favor with the host here. Shout out to Campaign. That guy was maybe Philly's fourth best player in last year's playoff series. He has been a quality defender. It showed tonight. So I feel like maybe it's allowed. Is it allowed? I have to ask Andrew's not here. He's the ultimate KFS rule maker. I wish I had him here, because I would ask if it's allowed to praise the guy who was the starting point guard and played 30 minutes on a team that, without their best player, just had 40 assists in a basketball game. And you could turn around and be like, oh well, yeah, but again, Campaign only 5 assists, and it was Cat making all those passes, and OG cutting and McCall cutting, and Hart doing his thing, and the whole thing. Mark says I'll allow it. Thanks, Mark. But at the same time, when the offense struggles, when Deuce is in there as the starting point guard, a lot of the attention goes to Deuce, because he's not getting them into their sets. He's not getting them into their right spots where all these talented offensive players can make plays. Payne does that. And he's done it all year, and he's really good at it. And he's a feisty defender. I mean, I don't know that this game was ever in danger zone, but he drew a couple of offensive fouls, a couple of charges tonight. There was one in particular, either late third, early fourth quarter, somewhere around there, where the Knicks were kind of scuffling offensively, and it felt like the Mavs were like a made shot or two away from making the game really interesting again. And then Payne comes through, draws a charge. His energy is infectious. If the Knicks are going to do anything in the playoffs this year, they're going to need Campaign. And the best compliment I could give him is that, based on what he has done this year, perhaps with no bigger moment than the 3-pointer against Washington that finally ended the bleeding, when the lead was down to 4. Based on what he has done this year, I have all the confidence in the world that he's going to come up big in the playoffs, because, as you point out, David, he has done it. You even heard Breen. We were just talking about Breen. Breen referenced tonight how Campaign at the fill-in for Chris Paul had started a game for Phoenix during one of their playoff runs, and the guy had an incredible night. Is it always going to be incredible? No. That's why he's a backup point guard. Backup point guards have some good nights, some bad nights. But overall, this guy's on the minimum, and he's just killing it. And I'm really happy that someone, and of course it's you, give him his praise. Thanks, David. Appreciate that. Jason M. Kolek, he didn't play this defense at Marquette. I can't say I watched any of his action at Marquette. I haven't watched college basketball really in years. But I know defense was a knock, and I know his defense in this game, I was very happy with it. Same thing as Washington. His defense has been good. If he plays defense like this, that's fine. That's 100% fine. Thanks, Jason. Kevin Danishevsky, can we talk Macau or only when he plays bad? Everybody's got agendas. I got my agenda. Kevin's got his agenda. That's what we're gonna change this the name of the channel to. Knicks Agenda School. There it is. I thought Macau was really good tonight. Amidst everybody else doing what they did. Macau, a ho-hum, 21 points on 14 shots, extremely efficient. Didn't really fill up the box score other than that. But, and if you want to say, but, no, you can't even say that. Should he have been more aggressive in the first half? No, because he was doing what was asked of him. He was everywhere he needed to be. He was on the receiving end of a lot of passes, and he converted those. He had a really good game. And again, Bridges has gotten, I would say, it's funny. There's been a lot of, this team's 5 wins away from winning 50 games, and yet you look at the amount of criticism that has been levied in pretty harsh fashion on a number of their individual players. Certainly Macau, I think he is in he's the clubhouse leader for most criticism levied. And again, you'll be the first to admit, Kevin, that a lot of that's deserved. But him, Josh Hart, Karl-Anthony Towns for the defense. OG not so much, at times, although there have been some stretches where he's been a little quieter, where people have really gotten on him and the contract and the whole thing. And then obviously the bench. So basically it's just everybody but Brunson. Anyway, so last 9 games, so the time Brunson has been out, fairly certain that, they don't, NBA doesn't have tonight's game included. So I have to go so these numbers will go up after tonight. So 22 points a game. So that'll actually be about the same. Coming into this game, and this is going to go up, 56.5% from the field. This is since Brunson went out. He's over 40% from 3 since Brunson went out, because he was at 39.5, and tonight he made 2 of 4. So he's over 50% from 3 without Brunson. Over 91% or 91.2% from the line coming into tonight, and tonight he made his only free throw, so that number's going up. On this number will go down. He was at 4.3 free throw attempts per game, so now it'll probably be closer to around 4 even. But that's 4 free throw attempts a game from Cal. That's fine. The 5 assists coming into tonight, that number will go down a little bit, but that's still a nice number. And he's been their best guy in terms of plus minus. Without Brunson. So look, he's gotten a lot of criticism. Some of it from me. Some of it's fair, and I think some of it might be a little unfair. And I'll just again reference what I said, whatever it was, a week or so ago. I think he's had a really tough season, and good game for him tonight. Thanks, Kev. Robert W. Cross with another one. Who we put in the Hall of Fame now? Maybe Kevin McCullough. First time, long time. It's your boy John. Brunson played off ball with Luka in Dallas. Do we need to look back to find the best way forward? All aboard. I feel confident in saying that Jalen Brunson will and should have the ball in his hands for a goodly amount of time when he comes back and in the years moving forward. That being said, the defining offensive force of this generation in the NBA is a player who arguably was as feared without the ball as he is with the ball. And that's Steph Curry. And it's like there's a lot of reasons Steph Curry is, singular force in the history of the league, but his ability and more importantly his willingness to just be relentless in hunting shots when he does not have the ball, and obviously Golden State's offense kind of feeds into that. That's what has really separated him. Now, I think the Knicks offense should absolutely tap more into that. And again, we saw that last year. They had no choice, because anytime Brunson got the ball, teams were doubling him anytime he crossed half court. So the only option for him to be able to get decent shots off was if he had to move without the ball. I do think they're going to need to do more of that, and having more, because the other part of it is teams are going to always guard him with their best player. So if you have weaker or other players being guarded by weaker defenders, well, those guys have to be able to put pressure on a defense. And one of the ways they can put pressure on a defense is if they have Jalen Brunson there as an outlet, whether it be, behind the arc or whatever else. So I agree with you that it is something that the Knicks can and should do more of. But, at the end of the day, the ball needs to be in Brunson's hands. If this is a long-winded way of you basically saying, why can't Brunson and Kolek play together eventually? I'm sure they will at some point in time. Probably not this year, but next year and in the years beyond, they can and they should. But it's tough. That's going to be tough defensively. That's always going to be tough defensively. So, yeah. Thanks, Robert. Joe Dugan, what's going on, Joe? It's like clockwork. Big Tibbs fan, but it never fails. Big Tibbs fan, but here's why he sucks. I think we need to redefine what it means to be a fan of someone. Anyway, big Tibbs fan, but seeing how easily Kolek gets guys in rhythm is depressing. Didn't get 1 minute this year in games with stakes. Counterproductive rookieism. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Look, here's what I can tell you, Joe. There's a lot of people who agree with you. So obviously, I think we live in a society that it's really, there's just no doubt that the more people who say something, the more right that thing is. I mean, without question. Majority rules, right? So you're in great company, and everybody who agrees with you, I mean, you guys have it. That's it. That's the ticket. Okay. Thanks, Joe. OG team. What's going on, OG team? Best believe when Cat decides to attack the basket, he is 100% forcing the shot over multiple bodies. Is that fair to say? I should yell at who do I have to yell at? Was it Fred? I think it might have been Fred. I was either reading I don't even know if I was reading something or listening to something. But something I was listening to or reading recently quoted a stat that on drives this year, Karl Anthony Towns had passed out of drives less than any qualifying player in the league. Granted, it had been a while, but I remember I quoted that stat in a newsletter earlier this year because the number is staggeringly low. And I think the only other player who had around a decent number of drives that passed out of drives, or maybe it was assisted at a drive. It's either assisted at a drives less or passed at a drives less, was Jaren Jackson Jr. So I'm filibustering because I'm getting the updated stats right here. So Karl Anthony Towns, I don't think this includes tonight, 7.8 drives per game, He has a pass percentage on those drives of 12.1% and an assist percentage on those drives of 4.3%. So to put that in perspective, 7.8. So 7.8 drives per game ranks, looks like it's around the top 75. Yeah, around the top 75. I'm just looking of the guys who drive. Yeah, I'm looking at the top 100 right now. The next lowest pass percentage on drives, man. You got Franz Wagner 26.4, Maxi 26.6, but look at the team he's playing on. Giannis 28.0. Here we go, Jaren Jackson Jr. 14.3. So Jaren Jackson Jr. is still down there. Paolo 26.2. Durant actually 25.0. Jalen Green 28.7. But like these numbers are all in the mid to high 20s. So basically, among the Norm Powell 26.2, Kuminga 28.2. Yeah, but basically, if you look at the top 100 drivers in the league, Sengun 25.3, even the big guys, even the big guys, it's a pass percentage of like the lowest ones are pass percentage in like the mid 20s to the high 20s. And then you got a different tier of player with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Towns. So, yeah, that's absolutely fair to say. When he gets ahead of steam, it's going to result in a shot attempt. And to me, that and his hesitancy at times this year to post up smaller players has been literally the only two pockmarks in his offensive game. But they're pretty big pockmarks, and I would say he's done better with posting up smalls. I think the driving game, even with him basically predetermining the shot most of the time, it's still probably a net positive for the Knicks because he has good touch and he will draw fouls. The last thing I'll say, and we don't have enough data to really see if this might be a real thing. That's another benefit to playing Mitch with Cat. Now, the counter to that is, are the driving lanes going to be as open if Mitch is in the game because Mitch is in the Duggar spot? And the obvious answer is, well, no. But how does that work if Mitch is in the game and maybe the driving lane isn't as clean, but you have Mitch there to clean up the offensive glass? That's an interesting dynamic that I'm curious. Kind of want to start tracking that, like how often on Cat drives when Mitch in the game is Mitch able to procure an offensive rebound if the drive miss? Again, we're talking like super ultra specific. But to your original point, yes, like that's very fair to say. Not 100%, but like 80-something%. Thanks, OG team. Jessica Elsner, what's going on again, Jess? Let Robert Cross cook. Kevin, sizzling sounds. I mean, what is KFS if not an opportunity for the powers that be to cook and sizzle, as you say? Thanks, Jess. All right, coming down the home stretch, and it's good because I'm almost out of Yule. Travis Robbins, what's going on, Travis? I love KFS. Well, I love you, Travis. Shout out to you, buddy. I don't know who you are, but we love you. What is the over-under for Tyler, the Creator's first-round playoff minutes in a 6-game series versus Detroit? I'll hang up and listen. Go Mets. Non-garbage time? If everybody's healthy? 0.5. That's the over-under. And I will take the under. I'm sorry if that's not the answer you wanted to hear, but that's, I think, the only correct answer. Now, you could argue that what should it be? It's a different conversation, but I like, again, if everybody's healthy, I think we know the playoff rotation. It's going to be the 5 starters. It's going to be Mitchell Robinson playing, I hope, around 25 minutes a game. It's going to be Deuce McBride playing probably around 25 minutes per game. And it's going to be Campaign probably playing around 10 minutes per game, would be my guess. You add those numbers up, that's 60 for your 3 bench players. I do not think that he will go to a 9th man. Maybe in like the first half of game 1 or something, we might see a couple token Shamet minutes for, I mean, when I say a couple, I mean like a couple, like 2. But I think it's going to be an 8-man rotation. And I think, if you do the math there, and again, the math never works out exactly as we want, but that leaves you with 180 minutes divided between the 5 starters. It's 36 minutes per starter. So, but yeah, 0.5. Okay. One last break to do a quick out-of-town scoreboard presented by, of course, our friends at T-Squared Social. T-Squared Social, come check us out. We had a watch party this Friday night. The Dame-less Bucks going up against the Brunson-less New York Knicks, but it's a big game. It's a big game, I think, because, Detroit, haven't really talked as much about them, but they have the second hardest, I believe, remaining schedule in the league. And the Bucks obviously now going to be without Dame Lillard for a period of time. So I would go so far as to say if the Knicks win against the Bucks on Friday, they will essentially have locked up a home court first round series. I'm not going to bury the Pacers just yet, but again, that's more about the 3 or the 4. So big game on Friday night. Come out to T-Squared Social, support the cause, and join us. Okay, scoreboard tonight. We got Rockets over the Hawks. Hawks seem to have made somewhat of a comeback attempt in the fourth quarter, but too little too late. Heat win in Jimmy Butler's return, 112-86. My goodness. Pistons over what is left of the Spurs. No, I don't think Cade Cunningham played in that game. Pretty sure Cade's still dealing with some kind of issue. Yeah, no Cade Cunningham in that game, but didn't matter. Pistons blew out the Spurs anyway. Magic over the Hornets. Thunder in the process of beating up on the Kings, 22-point halftime lead. Cavs Blazers tight game at the half, 60-52, and Grizzlies about to polish off a throttling of the Utah Jazz. Okay, that's your out-of-town scoreboard presented by T-Squared Social. All right, down the stretch here. JB Luka faced off December of 2022 when Tibbs was almost fired. Oh, yes, Luka did play in that game, didn't he? I forgot that. That's a bad job by me. I forgot. I don't know why I forgot that game. Brunson did play in that game. That's right. And Luka had did he have a very quiet game? It was not that memorable. I know that. But yeah. No, it's been a while. What can I say? Thanks, Kev. Jason with another one. First half, Kolek didn't do much, but played okay. Second half, after he assisted Cat in the pick and roll, they started getting him the ball in action to earn their trust. Yeah. I thought he was good. He had a good game. Warranted more playing time. 100%. Thanks, Jason. Paris Hutchinson, what's going on, Paris? What do you guys think of this nickname? Tyler Coca-Cola. By next year, Coca-Cola will be JB's backup point guard. I completely agree. I think that's what's destined for him. I don't think the Knicks would have invested the 34th pick in the draft on a 24-year-old that they did not foresee being in their roster building plans within the second year of his being on the team. If they did, and if he starts next year on the bench, then I would go so far as to say that something has not gone according to plan. Although, look, again, Campaign's been really good. And if Campaign wants to come back on the minimum, I mean, at the very least, it needs to be an open competition in camp. Now, who should win that competition by next year when Kolek presumably will be a little bit better? I think it's a tougher question. As for the nickname, Tyler Coca-Cola, or Tyler, sorry, Coca-Kolek. Sure, I got that right. I think Tyler the Creator is the way most people are going. But if you want to go with Coca-Cola, that's fine too. I'm not sure I'm gonna help in letting that one catch on. I'll try to do my part though. How about that? Thanks, Paris. Okay, that's it. We're done. Thanks everybody for checking out another edition of the Knicks Film School Postgame Show. Fun and win again. Lots of good stuff. We will see you, or I will see you, back tomorrow night after the Clippers game for that postgame in what I would imagine will be a slightly more competitive affair. We hope, right? I guess on the Knicks end. But yeah, 45th win of the season. Pretty cool stuff all across the board. Thanks everybody who sent in chats and watched and listened and the whole thing. Don't forget, support us in any way you can. Rating the show, giving a review, checking out our Patreon. And of course, shout out to BetUS TV. Thank you, Andrew, our presenting sponsor, and Mando and Yule and all of our friends, T Squared Social, Watch Party, the whole thing. We'll be back with more fun and games before you know it. Peace out.